Hey guys, Brent Hull Build Show. Talking today about moldings, and now that we've been to Winterthur and we've seen the secret lab, right? We're gonna dive in and look at moldings, Georgian and Federal, Greek Revival, what makes them unique. Come join me. Okay guys, we've been to Winterthur. You've seen those incredible Georgian, Federal, and Greek Revival moldings. As you try to raise your A game, right? You try to elevate the kind of work you do. Winterthur is this incredibly thick playbook of designs and details. And so we're gonna dig in today to the book, Traditional American Rooms, talking about how these rooms are put together. And I wanna show you, and we've got a molding catalog you can also order that's going to help you with the scale and the size of the moldings. But really quickly today, I want to talk to you about what the difference is between a Georgian, Federal, and Greek Revival molding. This, for instance, is a Georgian molding. How do I know? Well, there are shapes that happen in the Georgian period. When you have something that bulbs out like this, there's a reason why Georgian rooms feel thick and heavy, is because things bulb out. Notice that what happens when you've got a Federal molding, things are cut in. So when I say that it's lighter and daintier, whenever you remove wood like this, whenever you remove these moldings, you are removing space, you're taking things away, and it'll feel not as heavy. So Georgian, if we just look at the shape of a molding, you'll see this bulbous shape. In the Federal period, you will see a cutaway shape, okay? So one way, and there'll be beads on it. So one way, if this is the back band of a molding, right? One way, if you have this kind of projection like that, you're looking at more of a Georgian molding. It is a heavier molding. If you have something that's cut away, it's more of a Federal molding. And then in the Greek Revival, you have this really peculiar molding that's going to do this, okay? And so it has its own shape. Now, each of these are based on a curve, right? This is a circular shape. This is an egg shape, okay? This is an egg shape. The radius of that molding tends to be elliptical versus round. And so you have a lot of flat on this molding, right? And it cuts out here. So what I'm saying is, in a very roundabout way, is that all these moldings have a personality, have a style. The Georgian style came because they were looking at Roman buildings. They were looking at the exteriors of these buildings and going, oh, this is what that classical period meant. They had big, strong moldings that were exterior moldings. When they went to Pompeii and realized how light and dainty they were, they changed the shape of their moldings, and so that it became lighter and fresher. And then in the Greek Revival period, you have these hard shapes that they've discovered in Greece. There's a story, there's a history, there's a style. And so if I picked up this molding right here and said, what style is it, right? You would say, it's Federal, right? Look at the shapes here. Look at that elliptical shape here at the top. But we also know that in that Federal period, you'll see in some of those rooms like Montmorency, how the chair rail has this really light gouge carving in it. And so you begin to see these moldings and these details, and this is Federal, right? At Port Royal, okay, that was one of those high-style Georgian rooms. Great Palladian house, great moldings, 3 inches off the wall. There's the entrance hall, there's the cross hall. Those moldings look like this, right? They have this shape on it, right? And they're big, right? That molding at the front door is like 8 inches, okay? Huge, big moldings. If you go into Baltimore or if you go into Chesterton, okay, this shape here, right, that would then go down and it gets smaller, right? So this is now only about 5 or 6 inches, and it's been cut away, right? We don't have the beads. If there is a bead on there, it's very small compared to this bead. So it changes. And then when you go into those Greek Revival rooms, especially Georgia room, it has hard shapes and then lines that look stone-like and look straight. Remember the pilaster in the Empire room where the columns and the pilasters just step down. There's not a bead, there's not an ogee, there's not a scotia. They're stepping down and they're strict, right? And very hard line and very crisp shadow lines. And so each of these things, right, from different periods of time, have a different message. Now, the same is true of cornices. Now look at these two cornices. This is the cornice. Okay, now I'm talking about cornice. I'm talking about up at the top, right? This is what wraps around the room. This is the cornice in the Federal parlor. The Federal parlor was that high-style Federal room. Asher Benjamin had been in that room. But look what they've done here. The modillion, right, is much smaller. Look at this little gouge carving detail here. This just lightens up the corona, right? It just lightens up, gives these soft lines, and then look at the shape of that molding, right? What a funky looking shape. But as you read it, what you're reading is thin bead lines that go across there. This is our bed mold, right? This is what's underneath. So the shape and the scale of these moldings is very different. Now look at it compared to a Georgian cornice, right? Look how much different those are. Look, the size of the modillions is grown in this room. The size of the moldings has grown. This Georgian molding, right? Very classical shapes here. It's larger and heavier, okay? So when you talk about a Georgian room being thicker and stronger, the reason why is that the moldings are growing in size. They're very heavy and bold. And if you compare these two cornices, side by side, you can see how different they are, right? Same size rooms, same height of rooms, but the moldings have changed. And so as we go through those rooms at Winterthur, some of them are just magical spaces. And we've obviously reproduced a number of those rooms. You learn so much and you realize how different and unique these spaces are. If you remember Chesterton, here it is. We built a mock-up for a trade show that we went to a number of years ago. But look what's happening to the moldings, right? Remember this is a transitional room. We have full paneled walls, but the molding shapes are very Federal. Look at the detailing down here in this chair rail. Look at the bead and reel here. There's no raised panel, it's a flat panel. So we have Federal expression in kind of a Georgian room because there's full paneled walls. But if you look at the moldings and the molding shapes, they are Federal because we've cut away. Notice we've cut away here at the backbound, the tinea, we've cut away in the middle, and the bead is smaller. So each different step, each different little detail is more Federal. So it's a subtle thing, guys. It's a subtle way of communicating, but there's definitely a way to reach into the past, pull out the molding, and go, it probably came from this period. Going to the Victorian period, you're most likely pulling out an oak or cherry or some kind of hardwood molding because they finally had machines to be able to machine that stuff. All of this would have been softwood. So there is a history, there is a story, there's a style, and if you dig into this stuff, if you get the book, Traditional American Rooms, I've got the room size laid out, I've got the scale laid out, I've got all these different things laid out to help you begin to become a master of moldings and molding language. Okay guys, so hopefully now that we've been to Winterthur, you've toured around, you've looked at the different language of these moldings, you'll be able to understand what a Georgian versus a Federal versus the Greek revival molding is and be able to learn to take these tools, right? If you have a client that says, hey, I want something that's big and strong and bold, right? Most likely you're grabbing a Georgian molding or you're grabbing moldings that project, raised panel instead of a flat panel, right? If they want something light and dainty, you're shrinking the size and you're doing the cutaways, right? You're taking meat or you're taking wood away from it. It's going to make it feel lighter and daintier. So there are tricks that we can learn from the past. There is a way of expressing a room to make it feel strong or light, all because we understand the language of the moldings, and hopefully going to the past, looking at Winterthur, teaches you and helps train you to become better at it. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Hull Millwork, Hull Homes. Sign up for the newsletter. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. I'm Brent Hull. Thanks for watching.